When I look at a potato, when it germinates or sprouts, I see beauty in its silence, in its muteness, in its simplicity, in its immediacy. The sprouts look so crisp and fresh, while the potato is shrunken and all wrinkled up. And I'm reminded of an analogy where the richness of my experience compared to that of the flies, for example, in the eyes of another form of intelligence could easily appear to be as poor yet as I imagine the flies to be to mine, compared to mine. Or in other words, the feelings, the positive and negative emotions I have, and the meanings and values my existence is immersed in the eyes of another mode of intelligence, or in human terms a higher mode of intelligence, could easily appear to be as mute and plain as the potatoes appears to be to me. Now, this may be quite a wide leap to make, but I think it's never a bad exercise to bear in mind the order of magnitudes or the issue of scales in terms of existence, because we exist on a human scale, and at the human scale there is the mind. Now, the mind, in order to make sense of the world or its interaction with the world or the intensity it kisses into existence on the lips of the environment, it compartmentalizes its experience along spatial and temporal dimensions, where the spatial dimension involves the patterns of interactions that are the result of the way I am physically built and the way I interact with the environment with these physical attributes. And such is, for example, the schema of walking or the schema of standing up or sitting down. Now, on the temporal dimension involves, I think, the most efficient distribution of these interactions in a rhythmic pattern. And for example, this is the rhythm of walking, or the rhythm of standing up, or even the rhythm of actual dialogue. Now, the combination of these two dimensions will be the complex structure, the really complex structure that underpins the structure of our meanings and values somehow. Now, how does content, the flesh, come into the picture of the skeleton? The skeleton I talked about, the structure. It's not an easy question, but the two are tightly coupled together. So the content is never distinct from its material basis. And in a sense, the limitations of my body, of my embodiedness, the restrictions of my physical structures, somehow may be the reflections or reflect the limitations and restrictions of my emotional structures as well. So, as much as a potato is limited in its interactions, that's also how much it may be limited in its emotions. Now, that's again quite a wide leap to make, but it's not a bad thing to do that, because Okay, another aspect where the scale is important is when we talk about the mind, the range of the mind. And for example, when I identify myself with my mind and I do it on the analogy of the appearances I experience in the physical world, I will basically equate or identify a process in terms of objects, which is a mistake, because the same way as meanings are not inherent qualities of words, but are the function of how they are interrelated, my mind is not an essence that is distinct from its actions or interactions in a natural or socially abstracted environment. And while this may be true, it's also important to realize that there may be a further step. So besides the mind not being equal to object, it's not an entity, I should not identify cosmic principles or the nature with the values and emotions that my mind creates. Okay, let me clarify this. So, when I look at the flower as it blooms, I never see that flower simply as it is, just as it is. I see its quality, already qualified by my embodied limitations. And that's why I see something appealing in it. It's almost impossible to think without value judgments. It's merely impossible to think without value judgments. And that's because I think our current level of embodiment entails what counts as meaningful and what counts as value, and we are stuck on a level still. And next to the flower, if I think about evolution, and I hear other people talk about evolution in positive terms, as it emerges, as it ascends to a higher level, that may well be true, but why should we attribute positive or accord positive attributes to that process? Isn't that neutral, just neutral germination? I don't know. Maybe it's all about shape shifting. I don't see the reason why I should accord those positive terms. I see value in little things, in the little gestures we humans are capable of making, but not in the big picture.